So in today's video, we're going to be covering the Eachine Twig and why this might be the right micro brushless quadcopter for you. So in this video, we're going to cover its overall performance, its durability, its execution from like the VTX to the camera, to the motors, to the efficiency, and the overall out-of-the-box experience. Now, first, we're going to start with the overall performance. Now, with these micros back then and nowadays, you don't really know what you're getting. And what do I mean by that? Well, sometimes when you buy one of these and you take it outside, you would have to fight it on full throttle just in order for you to keep it flying. It is insane. Like, we've had some King Kong ones, we've had some well-known brand ones that were absolutely terrible. However, for this, that is not the case, and this actually surpasses quite a lot of ToothPicks. It's insane. Now, this is considered a twig, and the reason why it's considered a twig is because it uses a 3-inch propeller and slightly larger motors. It is kind of in the ToothPick class, but I'm guessing this is called the twig class, and I don't know who introduced the twig class, but I am actually starting to fall in love with it a little bit more than the ToothPick class, which we'll cover. It's still too early, but we're going to cover what do I mean by that in a bit here. Now, this comes in two flavors. You have an HD version and also the normal Runcam Racer Nano. So they are using pretty premium components in here. I mean, there isn't that many components, but the ones that are used are pretty good components, actually, from the video transmitter to the camera. But where it gets interesting is these motors here. I'm going to take them apart later on and actually test these to understand how powerful they are, what is their efficiency, and why do they run so freaking good. So these are 1105 5200 kV Eachine motors. Yes, it's Eachine motors. And to be honest, either Eachine got lucky or they really had someone, pump out a bunch of motors like 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, and they were just testing one after other with propeller to get the perfect setup, or they just got really lucky because this simulates a proper ToothPick on a 3S with around 7,600 kV motors, yet it's much more torquier where, in tight corners and tight places, it's going to be awesome as hell. And I've had an absolute ball crashing this, and it was holding itself very well. We're going to see some of the damage right now as well. So in terms of the motor prop combo, it is insane. It's very well chosen, and again, I'll put some numbers to these in an upcoming video because I want to modify this to add HD capabilities after I finish tuning it. Now for the propellers, they're using Gemfan 3025 props, and I am really starting to fall in love with them, and I'm thinking of picking up more of these because they've handled so much abuse here. I was really flying it just like this. So in that perspective, it's really good. It felt very durable, crash after crash after crash. Even the frame held very well. I've crashed quite a lot. I've crashed over 30 times, I think. I went out flying. I just flew this for 2 hours. It was insane. Now, any other ToothPick, usually I'd end up just going home because I broke it. And what you can tell is you can see the damage here. And the damage is really nice because also the frame here is protecting the motor. And this is why I didn't have any broken motors here. So this really played a big role today in my flying, and I really like that because they protected the motors very, very well here. And yeah, the damage is very minimal, and it is something to be expected. Usually most of the other things usually break. For example, the larva-x broke on me today on the third flight. Same kind of flying, very simple crashes because usually I start out flying very slow just so I get some footage, but that one just decided to completely break, which we'll cover in a later video. So the frame design looks very sturdy and very well thought through, but it does have some flex, not too much flex, not scary flex, but you can see it flex. I'm actually having to put quite a lot of pressure to get it to flex here. So that's a good sign. So in terms of the frame, I'm considering this a pretty durable frame compared to the ToothPick sized quadcopters. Plus with its weight here, it should be very difficult to break this frame. But then again, I could be proven wrong in 2 seconds here. In my experience right now, this is holding up very well. Other micros would have been broken by now. That's what I'm trying to say here. So for the flight controller and ESC, they're using the Crazy Bee 3.0 here. It's for me, myself, actually, it's proven itself very reliable. I haven't had one of them burn on me yet, and I've been flying quite a lot recently. I've broken motors and burnt motors before I even burnt this thing, so that's a good sign. However, I am putting low ESR capacitors on each of these boards. This one doesn't come with any, and I do highly recommend you were to add some. I'll have some link down below. So I am planning on adding it for a couple reasons. I couldn't buff out the top end or 75% throttle range oscillations or flutters. Seemed like it would have really high D, and I did go ahead and do a slight tuning session, and I'll have that posted up here. Just copy those. That'll get you pretty good, but when you start going into full throttle with some wind, it'll still have a little shakes here and there, and I think that's due to a low ESR capacitor. But anywhere between 0% throttle to around, I would say 65-70% throttle, you're going to be totally fine. And obviously you can see that in my footage there, but if you're trying to do like full speed, full passes, it needs still a bit more tuning. I didn't have much time to tune it because I just wanted to enjoy it here. Now in terms of the video transmitter, I freaking love this video transmitter because the larva-x, I couldn't go inside the bando very well, and I just kept getting a lot of breakup. It was terrible on full blast. Here I just had it on 200 milliwatts and I was enjoying it. I didn't have any breakups. But now we're going to come into the execution. You see they're using a little nice pigtail antenna. The execution here looks pretty cheap. Look, they've manually cut that hole right here. I do have a crack right now in the upper plate here, but it's very strong plastic. It's really crazy. It's very thin, but yet seems to be very strong. Like I can't even bend it. It's so rigid. The frame bends easier than this little canopy here, so that's a good thing. We also have camera protection. Look at that, slight camera protection. So that was very well thought through as well, and I really like that. And again, for the camera, they're using the Runcam Racer Nano. Great camera, great image. Even when the sun is in my face, even in these dark spaces inside this bando, I didn't have it hinder my performance whatsoever, and I was really happy with that. Now I don't know what the hell this is for, maybe for an external receiver, but I just kept it hanging for now. I'll double check that later on. So you're gonna need to figure out a way to securely mount this guy so it doesn't lean over and get chopped off and then you're grounded. So keep that into consideration. So this needs to be looked into here. Also, another thing, put some zip tie, but I don't really recommend zip ties. Put some tape to hold these wires into place because in crashes these will immediately rip. If not rip, usually, like for example, the propeller would bend downwards like this and smack these right off. So keep that in mind because, you know, a cut is okay, it's fixable, but if the motor wire doesn't get cut and it gets pulled from the motor itself, then you have a ruined motor now, or sometimes it might rip off a pad, but here it's connected, so that's not going to happen. So you either have a cut or rip it right from the inner part of the motor, which is a really bad thing and you don't really want. Also, another thing I had to do was trim down the battery strap slightly, and the batteries are very slippery, so I had to find myself some little anti-slip pads here that came with a frame. I just cut into small pieces, and that can ruin your quadcopter if it falls out. You cut a wire, you know, in a crash, especially if you didn't secure your motor wires. So keep that in mind. Try to get something that'll hold it into place here. And yeah, it's very important, especially with this size micro quadcopters, very important to secure the battery, not have it play back and forth here. Now, if you're using an HV, a 3S HV like I am, which I'll have linked down below, you're going to have to cut this this battery strap, and it comes with it, because it'll just keep hanging and smacking the propellers, and that's something you don't really want. So in terms of control range from your transmitter, it's okay. It's not bad because the receiver is built in here, so you're not going to get the longest of range. But I was able to fly fine in the Bando, but I didn't want to push it too far. And I think this had the RSSI and the OSD, so you could monitor that there. But your RF signal would go up before the video transmitter. So the video transmitter is an absolutely proper video transmitter in my opinion. Unlike the larva-x, that one was absolutely terrible for me for some reason. Maybe I had a faulty one, or maybe it just performs like that. So I need to double check and see. Talk probably with Happy Mall. I need to find their contact information and see what I can do with that. One of its biggest drawbacks is the tune, and it needs some tuning out of the box. However, I'll post my tune, but it's not a perfect tune, nowhere near a perfect tune, but it's enough to not have your motors get hot and actually really enjoy it. I think the Twig class is the best class for these micro HD split cameras in my opinion, because the performance is remarkable. In terms of the way it just grips in the air, it's I've never flown anything that does that really, and it just hovers. It doesn't even fall out of the sky. It's really crazy. It's insane. It was a really nice experience. I'd highly recommend for anyone. It's possibly, I think this is a little bit better because it's more durable than a toothpick. I think much more durable than a toothpick actually. And the overall execution is really nice, and it does need slight work. I'll have an update video of this guy coming up very soon with the motor testing here, so we can get a better idea of how well they performed. So everything is linked down below if you could check those out. Those greatly support the channel. Also come join my Patreon. I have Sky Zone OLED giveaways. I have the Trans X9D X Lite. I have a ton of giveaways on my Patreon, and you also get access to my secret shop, which has some crazy stuff in there. And also you get access to all my schematics, open hardware ESC, open hardware flight controller, the race wire. If you wanted to build your own race wire, you can do that. And well, that's it guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.